everybody, I'm Coach Brandon here with Coach Ant, and this week we're going to be looking at passing the half guard and overcoming your opponent's common defenses. The common defenses that we're going to look at in this video are a lockdown, so you're trying to pass half guard and your opponent locks you down, what to do there. If your opponent scores an underhook, how do we deal with an opponent who gets an underhook on us? If your opponent transitions into deep half guard, what do you do then? And then if your opponent transitions into half butterfly. So we're going to look at these four positions, or these four common defenses, and we're going to look at ways to beat them. Again, it was the lockdown, the underhook, deep half guard, and half butterfly guard. Now, before we get started, one of these four pieces, specifically the underhook, when your opponent gets an underhook, they can either stay down on their shoulder or they can prop up on their elbow. And I'm going to show you guys how to deal with both. So let's get things started. So again, we're going to be locked down, underhook with the shoulder down, underhook when the opponent's on an elbow prop, deep half guard, and half butterfly. So let's start with the lockdown. Can you put your head, let's put your head that way. So I'm in half guard here, okay? Once I get to half guard, if I leave my leg dangling like this and I leave my foot way out here, Ant might put in a lockdown. Now, did you see what he did? Ant, can you unlock your legs quick? Ant is gonna take both of his feet to the inside of my ankle. He's gonna take his right foot and tuck it underneath of my ankle, and then he's gonna take his left ankle underneath his own foot. I believe that's it, yes. So now what this does is Ant can extend his two legs, and that's going to drag me down the body. So now when I try to come up and put a crossface on Ant and he extends me with his legs, I can't move forward and get a crossface. Relax your legs, Ant. If he relaxes and I get a crossface, watch this. I set a crossface. I set a good crossface. This sucks, right, Ant? Mm-hmm. Extend your legs. How is this now?
Oh, yeah,
it takes the pressure off the crossface. So this is a big deal, okay? This lockdown stops me from moving forward. It drags me backward and it stops me from progressing forward. We need to have a good way to deal with this lockdown. When he puts in a lockdown, stretch it out. Okay, look at how I can't push my leg down, but there's nothing stopping me from taking my heel to the butt, and there's nothing stopping me from bringing my foot to the outside. I can't go down or to the inside. I'm blocked that way, but I can come up and to the outside, and that's how I'd start to take my leg free. Now I can't just pummel off and swipe my leg back underneath, because what will happen is when I pummel my leg off, Ant is just going to put his foot flat on the floor, and now when I try to come underneath his leg, I run right back into his lockdown. Okay, I try to pummel out, I try to come back in, and I get right back in the lockdown. So what do we do here? Well, there's two ways to take care of the lockdown. I can use either a butterfly hook or a heel block. I'm going to show a butterfly hook first. When I'm here, I'm going to use my left leg in as a butterfly hook, okay? So now, when I pummel my foot off, I pummel my foot up to the outside. He tries to keep his lockdown. But now, once I get my foot out, I'm going to immediately tripod up and free my right knee. And bring my right knee through. Once my right knee is through, I can slide it through into either 3/4 mounts, or I can try to keep my butterfly guard and come through to this position and then pass from here. So again, that was a butterfly hook method, where I take a butterfly hook inside of his knee, I pummel my foot off, and then I immediately tripod up to bring my knee through into this position here. Okay, so that's one good method. I personally find that to be kind of difficult sometimes, that they're really squeezing and clamping with their legs. The way that I prefer to deal with the lockdown is a heel block, and I'm going to show that now. Ant is going to put on the lockdown. Now remember that the problem is that when I pummel my foot off to the outside, when I try to bring my foot underneath his foot can go back to the ground. So I try to go through and over, I can't get underneath, I come right back onto his lockdown. So what I'm going to do here, when I feel him locking things down, I come down by the hips, I mean, you could stay up by the head if you can reach to. It depends on how long your legs are. But the goal is that I'm going to take my left leg underneath of his legs here. Let's see, where is it? That doesn't feel right. Let's see. Man's got some long legs. Down here, there it is. That's where it is, okay? So, sometimes it takes me a little bit to feel it. But when I'm here, I'm going to take my toes here flat, and I want to get underneath of his heel, just like so. Now when I take my foot out into the side, when I'm going to go to bring my leg underneath, I'm going to use my left leg to back heel and lift. So now when Ant tries to stop my leg from coming underneath, his legs are caught, and my leg can slide, and I can come back into our gripping position. Okay, so that's my preferred method of dealing with the half guard, or the lockdown. I'm stuck in the lockdown. I'm going to slide underneath of his heel, right here, and I'm going to prop and lift his heels up. Now my right leg pummels up and out, underneath, and now I'm going to come up into the gripping position. Now with my foot tucked here, safely by his hips, when Ant goes to put on a lockdown, my foot's not available to him, and so the lockdown is gone. So we have the butterfly hook method, and we have the heel block method for dealing with the lockdown. Now, let's look at a situation where I get into the gripping position or half guard, whatever, and he pummels in on the underhook. Now, he might stay down on a shoulder initially, and eventually he's going to want to build his way up to an elbow prop or hand prop so he can start to wrestle up. So let's deal with these situations. Let's look at shoulder down first. So he's going to dig an underhook. Now, Ant's goal from the underhook is to bring his arm and his elbow up toward the ceiling. No, your other one. Toward the ceiling. Your left arm toward the ceiling. And it's going to start to shuck me forward. Now if he continues to slip his head out from underneath my arm, he can start to take my back. So that's what Ant wants to do. He wants to take this arm and up toward the ceiling to bump me forward so he can use the underhook. So when I come through and I feel Ant get this underhook, my first thing is to take my chin and my head over the elbow. I'm going to get very heavy over the elbow like so. So now when Ant tries to use the underhook, it's tough. I'm going to solidify things in place with a crossface. So I come up, I take a crossface, just like we've done before. And like we've also done before, we know in order to use an underhook, Ant wants to get up onto his right side. So I'm going to use a center line shift to keep him flat. So now even though Ant has an underhook, when he goes to use it, it's pretty well negated. So again, I get my half guard, Ant gets an underhook. The first thing I do is I make sure that underhook stays heavy. I bring my head and my chin over the underhook, I clamp down on the arm, and now when Ant tries to use this underhook, very hard. I get a crossface, and then I start to go into a center line shift where I can put a ton of pressure over his jaw so it's really hard for him to turn into me, okay? Now another thing I can do, sometimes Ant gets this underhook. I go to try to get all of my weight over it, but as I do, he's already beating me to the punch and already starting to elevate. So when I feel this happen, I feel like he's beating me to the punch. Another thing I can do is I can just post on my hands, take my right knee off the floor, and as he tries to come up, I take my right knee through to the pocket of the hip. And I land right into a 3/4 mount position, or if he lets my ankle go, all the way into a full mount position. So again, I come in through, he starts to get an underhook. I try to crush it initially, I want to go here. But let's say I try to crush him, and I feel like he's elevating me, I feel like I'm losing. So very quickly, I put all my weight into my hands, so that my weight comes off my leg, and then I just pummel my knee through to a 3/4 mount position. And I come through. So that's another great way to deal with somebody who comes up on an underhook, okay? There's also some other fancier methods. I'm not going to get too much into the weeds on these, but I'll quickly show them. let's say maybe he starts to come up on an underhook. Another thing I can do is I can come over to a reverse crossface, sitting through. And now from a reverse crossface, I can start to work on kimuras and attack with kimuras. And I can start trapping his arm with using the belt or using lapels, and then I can look to start passing from here. Come back and I still have my kimura. So that's one good way, is we can use reverse cross faces, where I go, instead of a cross face here, a reverse cross face, and then I can attack this arm with kimuras. Another good way I can do this is with reverse underhooks. Now I don't particularly favor this method. There is some back exposure, but it can work. You gotta be ready to roll into the leg zone. Let's give some space on this land. So another good option, Ant gets an underhook on me. I feel like I'm starting to lose the battle, okay? He's not quite up on his elbow yet. He's just starting to elevate me. I can take my left arm through as a reverse underhook. Here. So now that I've stolen Ant's underhook by taking a reverse underhook, okay? Now from a reverse underhook, I use my left knee in the pocket of the hip, and I can free my legs and pass. There is also something else that can happen here, something a little more advanced. Let's say he gets his underhook, I come through to a reverse underhook, and as I sit through, he starts to elbow escape my the knee on this side. Yes. Now if I sit here and I do nothing and he elbow escapes, he might take my back. So if I go reverse underhook and I feel like he's starting to elbow escape and take my back, I can, go ahead, I can start to, start to move your hips and move around a little bit. Yep. Yes, I'm gonna start to roll over onto this shoulder. I can catch the leg. Now, watch your arm, I don't want you to hurt, there it is. And now I can come through, putting on an outside lockdown here, and now we take the back like we've done in the past from the flank position using that outside lockdown too. Okay, so this is getting to a rolling back take. Again, I'm not going to go over all the spine details of this yet. We will see this in the future, but just getting you thinking about it. I'll show you one more time. Half guard, Ant beats me to the underhook. Initially, I want to kill the underhook. If I can't kill the underhook, I can knee pummel to 3/4 mount. I can go here and go kimura. Otherwise, this last one, I can go reverse underhook, and if I feel like he's starting to escape, get this arm out of the way. If I feel like he's starting to escape and I start to lose the hips, go ahead, Ant. I can start to ride over. I can capture his legs with my legs, put him through, locking an outside lockdown, and I can start to take the back from here. So that's a fancier option. It is something that I do use a lot. And then if during the course of, let's just do that because this is a lesson I've seen in the past. Let's say reverse underhook, he starts to elbow escape, I roll through. Let's say I try to go here, I'm trying to take the back, but Ant quickly straightens this leg and puts his back on the floor. And now we come back up into the flank position. We've seen how the outside lockdown, the back, and the flank position can all work together in the past, and this is another example of it. Okay, so that's dealing with an underhook when our opponent is still down on the shoulder. Now let's look at an underhook when our opponent is up on the elbow, okay? So I get half guard, he gets his underhook. I initially want to kill it, but I can't. He starts to beat me. Not only does he start to beat me, but he gets up to his elbow. Let's go a little ways away from the camera. Not only does he beat me, he gets up on his elbow. Well, when Ant beats me for inside position, I don't want to give him all the inside position. I want some for myself. I never want to surrender the entire inside position game. When I start to lose inside position, I'm going to start to gain some inside position as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach through, and I'm going to take my own underhook. So Ant has an underhook on this with this top arm, on the top side. But I come through, I'm going to take an underhook, elbow deep, on the bottom side. Notice, in order to help me reach, I go head to head, I bring my left shoulder into his chest, and I grab. Now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push off the floor to lift Ant very briefly and put his back on the floor. So now Ant's underhook is effectively useless. Okay, so we use a a near side underhook, whether we use an underhook on the near side. Lay down. Understand that when I'm here, my body is more on this side of Ant's body. My left leg is free over here. So I would call this the near side, the side I'm closer to, and I would call this the far side. So Ant comes up on a far side underhook, and he's up on an elbow, so I take a near side underhook. Now I'm going to use my near side underhook to flatten Ant out. Now with Ant flat, and I have an underhook on this side, with an underhook on this side, I would love to pass to this side. So when I'm finished with the pass, I have the far side underhook. Right now it's the near side, but when I pass my body over here, then it will become the far side. So from this position, I use this near side underhook, and I use a cranial crossface, where I take my head up by his head. Coming up into a tripod, I can either use my free leg as a butterfly hook like we've done in the past, or I can actually take my left knee all the way across the hip line. Look at my left knee come all the way through. I post it on the floor right here as a wedge next to the pocket of his hip. And I'm going to use that knee, that wedge, to pry my right leg free. Ant is going to squeeze with his legs, keeping my right leg trapped. And I'm going to use my left knee to free my right leg. Now when Ant tries to turn up into me, he can't, because I have that underhook way back from when I set the near side underhook and force him back down to his back. Okay? So when Ant comes up and comes into an underhook, I take a near side underhook, flatten, we're up, knee across, and we're free. Let's look at another option. We can hand post and go to 3/4 mount like we did before. Remember when he got the underhook and he stayed down at his shoulder? Once he started to beat me here, I could take my knee out and pummel my knee through. I can do the same thing when he comes up to an elbow. If he comes up to an elbow, I can just post my hands, my right knee comes up, goes over the far hip, and we flatten him back down. Okay? So again, he comes up on an elbow, hands to the floor. I put my weight onto my hands so my right knee and leg come off the floor. And with my right knee and leg off the floor, I can easily start to pummel my leg through and bring my knee to the pocket of the hip. Okay. Some other options we have is on this underhook and propped up, as I can actually start going after submissions. I'm not going to go through these in detail. We're going to see these later on when we go over our submission series. But I could lock on an arm-in guillotine. Now with an arm-in guillotine, I could put my head and my shoulder to the floor for stability and pass from here. When he comes up on an underhook, I could free my right knee like we did before when we were pummeling our knee free. But now, rather than bringing my knee to the 3/4 mount, I'm going to bring it down to the bottom hip, and I can back step into cross ashigarami, and I can start going after inside heel hooks. Alternatively, he comes up on the underhook, he's up on an elbow prop, just like I did before. I free my knee like so. Now my right knee is free, and now I can start to grab his wrist, pummel through, falling to the side, and I end up here in a T Kimura position. Now you guys aren't overly familiar with the T Kimura yet, or many of you won't be, but that's okay. This is an incredibly strong grip. Even though I'm on my back, when Ant tries to turn into me, I just lift the elbow, and when he tries to get up on top, it's very hard. We're going to learn how to use this position more in the future, okay? So we can roll through to T Kimura. We can grab the neck and go after an arm-in guillotine. Or I can back step into the legs and start attacking ashigaramis. So far, we've seen how to deal with our opponent's lockdown. We've seen how to deal with our opponent's underhook when they stay down on their shoulder. We've seen how to deal with our opponent's underhook when they prop up on their bottom elbow or on their arm. Now, we got two more common defensive strategies to cover. we still need to look at what to do when our opponent puts in a deep half guard and what to do when our opponent puts in a half butterfly guard. Let's look at deep half guard first. So, which way? Let's go head that way for me. So I come in, I'm getting my crossface, my underhook, I get to the gripping position. We just looked at situations where Ant is able to get this arm to the inside position, and he comes up on an underhook. Now we're going to look at situations where Ant pummels this arm to the inside position, he goes inside to a scoop grip. And now we start to get into a deep half guard, okay? We either have a shallow deep half guard like so, where he's not quite all the way in, and we'll look at this. And then we're going to look at situations where he goes a little deeper, gets my right leg extended, and he puts me into kind of a full deep half guard position here. Okay, so we're going to look at this situation as well, early and late. Let's look at early responses first. So I'm here. When Ant puts in this scoop grip, what is he not defending? What do you think, Ant? Yeah, your neck, your head. Understand, when this arm is out, and I try to control the crossface, he has an inside bicep tie. Okay, he's probably going to use his wrist inside my bicep. Yes, and the hand reaches over the top, because now when I try to pull back, he's got a grip in my elbow too, and it's hard for me to move and do anything with this arm. Okay? When he takes a scoop grip and tries to go into deep half guard, this arm is completely unmonitored. So I'm going to take a crossface, he's going to scoop my leg, and I'm going to use my crossface to sprawl my left leg back. So he's going to try to use that right arm to pull my leg up onto his shoulder, but I use my crossface, my left leg to sprawl, straighten my right leg away, and I use my left leg away, and then I bring my left leg in to the pocket of the hip, we free the knee, and now we're ready to start passing guard from here. So that was one form of early response, where I can just simply sprawl my leg away. What if I'm going with somebody who's bigger and stronger than me, and they're too strong that I can't sprawl my leg away, but we're still early? He scoops. We're still early because I'm not into a full deep half yet. I get my cross face. He gets a good elbow deep grip in my thigh, and I try to sprawl. I'm just not strong enough. Okay, he's a big, strong dude. Another way is for me to wrist pin, and leg pummel. So from here, I take my cross face out. I go here to the end of the lever. Here, I'd probably go here, with my palm on the inside, and I'm going to start to push, getting this out of the way, pinning it to the floor. And now I can start to try to pummel my leg back to the inside. So I can go with palm out or palm down. This time I'm going to go palm down. I actually think I do this one more. So he's going to take this strong scoop, I pin, get my leg free, and now I'm going to try to pummel my leg back over the top. Okay? That's one option. It's not the greatest. You are a little tight, like there's not a lot of space, but I only use this option when I have somebody who's so strong that my leg is not strong enough to sprawl the arm. It's very rare. Normally I come in here, he takes a scoop grip, normally I can sprawl and overpower. If I try to sprawl and overpower and it doesn't work, then I go back, pin the wrist, and I pummel my foot through. Now let's look at a situation where he gets up into a full deep half. Okay? Let's go back. So I get here, and notice Ant takes his scoop grip in my leg, but my right knee's still on the floor over here. Ant wants to leg pendulum his legs out to his left-hand side and force my leg to straighten, like so, and now I'm in a full deep half guard. The problem with deep half guard is stability. Okay, I'm very stable side to side, but I'm very unstable front to back. If Ant starts rolling forward or backward, I'm very easy to tip. So we need to gain some side-to-side stability, and we're going to do so through something I call a knee switch. So I'm going to post on the knee right here to free my trap knee, just like we've been doing, to free my knee. And then just like we've done, I take my knee to the floor near the pocket of the hip. And I go here. So you'll notice I went from a situation where my left knee is on the ground and all my weight is on my left knee to a situation where I put my right knee on the floor and I put all my weight over my right knee. So now facing this way. Before, I was facing across Ant, so he could tip me forward and backward. When I perform a knee switch, and I put my right knee down, my left knee up. Now if Ant tries to off balance me to the side, I've got good support. Okay? Now, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to take this leg, come over his head. I'm going to try to slide down with my hips as I try to shoot an underhook here. This is very, very critical that I get the underhook. Okay, very important. Rotate just a tad. Okay, if I come up like so, and I slide down, and Ant gets this arm behind me, and he gets like the underhook, he's going to be on my back. So it's very important that as I take this leg over, I do my best to snake an underhook here. The problem is Ant's hand is still inside, so when I start to slide down, he can still punch this underhook in and be behind me. So what I'm going to do is rotate just a tad. I'm here. As I bring this leg around, I'm going to control the wrist. Okay? So now when he tries to pummel in an underhook, I can take his wrist to the outside. So now if he tries to come up and take my back like he did before, the underhook stops him. If my arm's on the outside, he can now come up underneath me and take my back. Okay, is that making sense hopefully? One more time. I come into half guard, Ant gets the scoop grip of my leg here and forces me into deep half. First thing I do to get some stability is I clear my knee and I perform a knee switch. From here, I'm going to control the wrist as I pass my leg over, and I'm going to try to slide down so my left arm starts to go into an underhook spot. If at any point Ant tries to move this arm at all, I'm going to pass his hand to the outside so that there's no underhook. Now I come through, I get my cross face underhook through my leg, and we're past the guard. So that is beating the deep half guard, both with early responses using a cross face and a sprawl, or a wrist pin and a leg pummel, and then a late response, where we have to perform a knee switch to gain stability because he put us all the way into the deep half. Now, let's look at the last common defense that our opponent's going to do, and that's going to be putting in a half butterfly guard in response to our guard pass. And if you put your, let's go ahead this way. So I set my cross face, I come up to pass. Now we've seen that if I can push my knee free and take my knee to the floor next to the hip, it's a very strong passing position. Ant knows he's in the middle of a losing battle here. He knows that I'm going to eventually win this. So rather than just hanging onto my leg for dear life, he pummels his foot to the inside position. Because now what happens, if I drive forward and he uses this hook to elevate me, he can get me way out of balance. As you can see, he can go into Ashigaramis and attack my legs, and bad things start to happen. So what do we do when our opponent gets in a half butterfly guard? Well, let's understand everything in terms of a fight for inside position, because that's really what jiu-jitsu is all about, fighting for inside position. The person who controls the inside position controls the space. They can push, they can pull. You cannot control the space when you're in the outside position. So essentially what's happened is I've gotten to half guard, and I've completely won the fight for inside position at the upper body. If Ant wants to use his arms to push my upper body away, it's going to be very hard for him to do so. So when Ant realizes he's completely lost the fight for inside position at the upper body, he's going to try to win the fight for inside position at the lower body. Right now, I've got one leg inside, and Ant has one leg inside. But what happens when Ant pummels in a butterfly hook? Go ahead. I have no inside position anymore. Okay? I mean, I kind of have it inside this trap knee over here, I suppose, but I can't really use it because Ant can now use this butterfly hook to elevate and push and off balance and make space. Okay, this is a problem. Also, do you remember what Ant needs to get Ashigarami? He needs both legs in the inside position and a knee off the floor. When he pummels in this half butterfly hook over here, he has put both of his feet in the inside position. He is halfway to an Ashigarami. So I need to realize this. When he pummels in a butterfly hook, I've got to realize the significance of this. I have to realize he is starting to win the fight for inside position at the lower body. So I'm going to challenge him by pummeling in my own butterfly hook. So let's put our feet toward the corner. So from here, when I feel Ant pummel his left leg in as a butterfly hook, my left foot also pummels in as a butterfly hook. So now when Ant goes to elevate my leg, I can put weight into my left foot. So when his left foot elevates, my left foot goes down, elevate, and he loses his ability to be super effective. If I don't have the inside position, he elevates. He can start getting me all sorts out of balance, throw me around. Yeah, things go bad. So when they pummel into the inside position, you also pummel into the inside position. Never let your opponent pummel to the inside position and not respond to it. If your opponent pummels into the inside position, you need to do something about it. You gotta shut it down, you gotta pummel into your own inside position or something. We saw that before. Let's just take a step back to our underhook, toward the camera. When Ant took an underhook here, he's winning the fight for inside position. I can't really dig a good near side underhook here because his body's on the floor, so my first thing is I want to, negate. So even though he has inside position, I shut it down. He goes to use that underhook now, and it's hard. When he comes up to his elbow, now he won inside position here, so I'm also going to take inside position. I get my left arm in between his elbow and his ribs because he got his left arm in between my elbow and my ribs. When he gets inside position, don't just accept it. Try to steal some inside position for yourself. Whether we go here and we take the near side underhook, or we've seen in the past how we can cross bicep post, we can re-pummel. But all of jiu-jitsu is really a fight for inside position. And that's what we're seeing with the half butterfly guard now. Okay? So, this way. So I come up, I get my cross face. Ant pummels in a butterfly hook. I immediately pummel in my own butterfly hook. Okay? I get my underhook. Now with his butterfly hook in place, Ant wants to use that butterfly hook to elevate me and extend and put me up to the ceiling or even back to this side. Understand, Ant's butterfly hook, when he extends his leg, the power is going to go in whichever direction the knee points. So what happens if I can take his knee